What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. My name is Rob, and today, that Gears of War remake might actually be happening. So I found this to be a pretty interesting piece of news, and something that I'm actually pretty excited about, to tell you the truth. There had been rumors for quite a while that there was going to be a remake or a remaster for the Xbox One of the original Gears of War trilogy. That was going to be Gears of Wars 1, 2, and 3. Judgment, which was the fourth game, was never really included in that conversation, which kind of makes sense because even though I really liked the game, it certainly wasn't as good as the original three, and it also kind of exists in a story realm outside of the necessity of that first story that really is told only through parts 1, 2, and 3. So, of course, there's no reason to think that they would remaster that game. But of course, we live in a very remaster-heavy kind of gaming age right now. Honestly, all three of the current systems have seen remasters. The Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the Wii U. And there's no reason to think that that's going to stop anytime soon, which I think is why a lot of people thought that a Gears of War remaster of the trilogy was going to be coming. And what's happening right now is there's been a lot of leaked information, a leaked screenshot, and apparently a couple of inside confirmations to Kotaku specifically that are saying Gears of War is indeed getting a remake or a remaster coming up sometime soon. However, the extra interesting piece of news to this is that it seems as though it's only the original game that's getting the remake. So my personal thoughts on this idea is that at the end of the day, I think I actually prefer this. And I know it may sound weird because there's no doubt that if, the studio, and I think it's Black Tusk who is supposed to be, spearheading this remake. Black Tusk is the new Microsoft studio, which is taking over the Gears of War franchise for the future. And we know that they're working on a brand new Gears of War for the Xbox One. And so there's no doubt that if they were working on a Gears of War trilogy package, that would ultimately be the better value. I mean, you have, your choice between one Gears of War game or all three Gears of War game in one package on one disc for one purchase. And sure, it would certainly be more of a value and more enticing for a lot of people who might have missed some or all of those games to buy a trilogy package. However, I'm such a fan of the original Gears of War, and although 2 and 3 I think are really, really great, and there are so many elements about the third that do kind of make it the actual best of the trilogy, I just have a personal love of that first game. The first Gears of War is probably my favorite, mostly because it was so brand new at the time. That was building off of this third-person action shooting combat, beautiful nature that Resident Evil 4 had put in place just the year before. I mean, people forget, Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube was January 2005, and it was, November 2006. So, year on year, it was only 1 year apart. Of course, we're looking at the beginning of 1 year and the end of the next. So a year and a half, almost 2 years difference between Resident Evil 5 on the GameCube and Gears of War on the Xbox 360. I mean, that's mind-blowing when you really think about it and put it in perspective. And Resident Evil 4 was such a revolution in gameplay and storytelling. And Gears of War was this first game for the then new 6th generation. Seventh generation, and that was just something that no one else had ever seen. It was like, wow, who knew games could look this great and play this great? I mean, that really is a phenomenally playing game, that first Gears of War. That was a game that I was bringing all my friends over to watch my roommate play it on his 360 at the time, and I have two friends that went out and bought 360s, in the following weeks, simply because they saw Gears of War running on a 360 when it was brand new. And it was one of those things where not only was it, beautiful, the best looking game I'd ever seen at the time, again, it played wonderfully. It really was a solidly made, fascinating game, in every respect. It really wasn't just, oh, look at this graphics and we made, still an uninteresting and uninspired game, which is kind of what the Order 1886 seems to have turned out to be. This was the complete package. Gears of War was everything a great game is supposed to be. Next gen, pushing the limits of that current new system, beautiful, amazing gameplay mechanics, really good story, and the whole production value was just top notch. So that's kind of why I sort of hold that game, to such high regard just for myself personally. Not to mention, wow, this was the game that got me into online gaming. I mean, that was the first time I started using Xbox Live or any sort of online gaming function or service. Which, to be fair, was pretty new at the time. And, my roommate, he had a headset, and all of a sudden when he would be at work, and maybe I would be at home on a day off or something, and he wouldn't be there, I started getting online with Gears of War, and I would put on that headset, and find people to play with and start talking to people. And at that time, people didn't talk as much shit because online gaming for a console was very new, so people were friendlier. You know, the meanness that I think gamers are used to nowadays online, I think has been a gradual thing that people have become accustomed to over time because gamers have become so used to this online world and competition that people have started becoming really shitty and just talking smack. So, but at the time, it wasn't that way. So for the most part, it was just, I was like, wow, I'm just talking to other gamers and like we're working together in a game that required us to work together. And I made some really cool friends and I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing with other people and there's really cool guys and we're playing this amazing game online, and it was so addictive. So, you know, that's my long-winded story about why the first Gears of War is really important to me and why, if it really is just the first Gears of War that they're focusing on for this remaster, I think I'm going to be okay with it. I'd almost rather have them focus their efforts 100% on just one game than do kind of a half-assed job on all 3 games. Even though 3 games is a better value, like I said, I know I get it. But honestly, a perfectly done, you know, 8th gen remake of that amazing game, Gears of War, I would much rather have. The same way Nintendo focused on just the Wind Waker to make that amazing, or Sony focused just on Last of Us to make that amazing. You know, I think it's going to be a better ultimate end result product if it's just the one game. And so, okay, and I guess the other part is it has to be sold at the appropriate price. I mean, I can't imagine that this game, if it really is just the first Gears of War, is going to be worth a $60 price tag or even a $50 price tag. I could see it being, you know, with a solidly made remake of just the first game that you can tell they spent a lot of time on. I could see it being worth $30, maybe $40. $29.99, $39.99, okay, I'd be okay with that. If they were going to try to sell this game for $50 or $60, it would need to be a massive overhaul. I mean, they would need to not only make it look as current as possible visually, but they would need to throw in tons of extra features and a lot of extra modes and extra weapons and all this other stuff, and not burn this thing to the ground with DLC, which I don't really think that they would do that. But that's kind of my take as far as how they would price it and what value this game would really have. There's no doubt that it would perform pretty well. It would serve as a great conduit for getting people excited for the new Gears of War, and maybe we hopefully see the new Gears of War at E3 this year. And so if you really want to get people excited, just like how, you know, 343 did the Master Chief Collection to try to get people excited for Halo 5, they could do a remaster of Gears of War 1, a solid package at the correct price, and that's going to get people excited for the new Gears of War all over again. So, you know, at the end of the day, those are pretty much my thoughts. You know, you pretty much heard me gush about the first Gears of War for most of this video. But man, I just love that game so much. And, you know, if it was a trilogy package, awesome. I'll be just as excited. You know, I think that for some reason, even though we're a little remaster heavy today, and, you know, a lot of times I think it's overkill, the first Gears of War, or even the Gears of War trilogy, I think it could slip by as being overall an okay game or series to remaster for this generation, because I think it would really benefit from it. And these games are pretty old, especially if it's just the first game. Again, that's 2006. So you know what? If that game came out this year or next year, that would be a 9 or 10-year-old game at the time that this game came out. Totally okay with it. You know, it's the same reason the Wind Waker, I think, was justifiable, because that was 12 years old at the time it came out. That's how you remaster a game. It's not so much remastering games from last year. I'm looking at you, Tomb Raider and The Last of Us, which were, you know, the previous year at the time they released. We're not looking at that. We're not looking at games that are already high definition and were just released, you know, 12 months prior. We're looking at games that were very old, many years ago, that actually will benefit from a visual and content upgrade. That is the purpose of a true remaster that is justifiable and worth its value in today's 2015 gaming market. So, Gears of War, I hope that this is real. You know, this is all just a rumor. Like I said, there's information on Kotaku you can find about it. There's a leaked screenshot of the main menu for Gears of War HD, or not HD, remaster, whatever it's called. You know, there's interesting thing happening. And honestly, I really think that this is true. Whether it's one game or all 3, I firmly believe that this is one of those rumors that is absolutely true and will be confirmed sometime soon. I would assume before E3, and then at E3, we'll see the new Gears of War. But those are my theories. What do you guys think? Are you excited about this, or are you not? Do you think this is a great move? Do you think this is stupid and just another remaster? Share your thoughts below. If you are new to Rule of 2 Review, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, like, rate, and comment. And thank you for tuning in. I will catch you guys next time on another video for Rule of 2 Review.